of. But as we think about church planting, it indeed may be new to people who are listening on. And I thought it would be good just to get the ball rolling to hear what our experiences have been to date of church planting. Essentially, when we're thinking about church planting, what we're really talking about is seeking to evangelize a new church into existence. And in that regard, every church that any one of us belongs to actually was a church plant at one time or another. So church planting isn't new, but it may have fallen out of fashion. So I thought it might just be interesting to hear, and a bit of an encouragement to those listening on, to gain some sort of insight as to our experience, our collective experience of church planting as we set out to do a new work with Christ Church North Dublin. So what can we say in regards to our collective experience of church planting? Anybody previous experience in this regard?
Well,
absolutely zero experience of church planting.
Okay, good. Zero. Wonderful. Chris and Sarah, you grew up in established churches and through university went to churches that had been in existence for quite some time. So this is a brand new experience for you guys. Yeah. Hilton, I noticed you were about to jump in there.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. It's we haven't had a lot of experience at all. We have over the years had a little bit of experience. So when we were newly married and living in Durban in South Africa, we were involved in a very young church plant there, and saw wonderful growth in that church to well over about 120 folk over a 3-year period. And we then left South Africa, and we've lived in the Middle East, and we've also lived in Dublin. And while we've been in Dublin involved with the Presbyterian Church, we've tried different things. We've tried a little pop-up church in one of the local areas, and that went okay. It wasn't brilliant, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. So it's really good for the church to be able to try stuff like that. We've also seen a church being planted out from our main congregation into an area called Donabate, and that's done really well. So there were folk that the really encouraging thing is that church is now involved in planting out into Balbriggan, which is another area north of Dublin. And so it's really encouraging to see how that initial church plant and that initial work has already borne fruit and created another church plant from that. So I wouldn't say we've had a huge amount, but what we have been involved with has been really encouraging and really exciting to be part of.
We'll come back and just some of the things you touched on there. Olive, anything you want to contribute?
I've no experience of church planting in practice. In theory, I might have heard or read a lot because I work for ICM, which is a church planting agency. So I'm part of the team, and I've seen City Church as a church plant grow, and Emmanuel Church is an old church being revitalized, and the Iranian Church. So I'm just there in a supportive role and have listened in to different conversations or lectures on church planting, but certainly in practice I've nothing.
So you've benefited from our shared ignorance as we
Absolutely.
Plant more churches. What do you think actually goes into the practice of church planting? So Hilton, Philippa, you've seen a little bit of that, and God has been kind in blessing many of the works that you've seen started and then grow. I think this is probably, although most of us don't have extensive experience in it, what do you think actually are some of the key components for a church plant? What do you think is necessary to get a church plant going?
I think in my mind there's probably three things that stand out. The first one is just really having a heart for people and having your heart touched by the gospel to the point where you wanted to share it because of what God's done in your life. I think a second is a heart for the community where you live and wanting to reach out to people. That's through friendship and it's through developing relationships. And I think the third thing is to be part of the church network in your greater kind of area. So not just to see yourself as being an isolated group or a group that's got a solitary mission, but to see ourselves as part of the work that God is doing in many facets around Dublin and in different people's lives.
Sometimes there's also a practical matter of your church not being big enough for everybody. Just spilling over into another community, another area.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, as you look at an area, even just like Dublin 13, you can see there are different, very distinctive communities that live within that area. And some communities, whilst they may be comfortable going to one type of meeting, wouldn't be comfortable going to another type of meeting. So it's understanding I suppose as well, the social dynamics as much as the spiritual, theological dynamics as well. Yeah. Guys, anything else you want to chip in terms of just what you think is essential? Maybe it's a broader question itself, just thinking about church in general, what's essential for not simply planting a church, but for a healthy church to survive.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that the things that Hilton said and picked up on there that that are important for a church plant, and I think that's all true. And as I was thinking about the plant and what why are we doing this? I guess what I kept thinking was we're all just ordinary people, ordinary Christians. There's nothing special about us. We're not qualified in any particular way to do this. Most of us have never done it before, but we really believe the things that Hilton just outlined there. We believe that they're important and that they're important for everyone. For other ordinary people just like us. So we might not have a surefire plan, and we definitely don't know how this is all going to work out, but we have to at least try, and we're in it together. And if it doesn't work out, or it doesn't work out exactly as we think it might now, and we've seen that already with COVID-19, then that's okay. We can at least try, and we don't need to be special. I think it's good that we're just ordinary people.
Sure. One of the pictures which I just love. I mean, somebody has painted it on the side of a building, and it's in the city centre of Dublin, but it's got the face of a sailor, and in below it, it's got the slogan that simply reads, "Fail we may, but sail we must." And it combines both the element of risk, but also the great compulsion to seek to launch, I suppose in that context, a seaworthy vessel that will accomplish its purposes. So yeah, I mean, in terms of actually knowing what we're doing and where we're going, as you say, all those plans have been thrown very much up in the air, and yet it is the love of Christ which continues to compel us.